Hello and welcome to Fairlock Primary School in Essex. Now this week we're finding out how this school has built up huge expertise in helping children with English as an additional language. Fairlock Primary School lies on the borders of London and Essex, and it has over 700 pupils from 3 years to 11. Over the past 10 years, the school community has changed. Now the pupils have over 30 languages spoken, with children coming from all over the world.
Well, I've seen groups of people come from all different parts of the world, in fact. Families coming from no particular one area, but from a mixture of countries, with a mixture of different languages, and a whole different lot of experiences to share.
Every few weeks, someone new joins. Many of them will arrive with English as an additional language. A proportion of those will come directly from abroad. In this Year 4 class, 2 new pupils, Rohit from a Bangladeshi family who's been living in Italy, and Mircea from Romania, joined this term. Every child who arrives is guided through a thorough induction process.
The first thing that we have to do, obviously, is an induction interview with their parent so that we know exactly what we're dealing with. So at that interview, I would ascertain how much schooling that child has had, where they've had that schooling, what language they were schooled in, and whether they can actually read and write in any other languages, any English that they've got.
From the beginning, the school tries to build strong links with the family to support and welcome them.
When we were trying to get the children happy with the times of schooling, the uniform and that sort of thing, we then made a couple of films starring the children, so that rather than telling the parents and perhaps sometimes getting it wrong, we had a very short little video, possibly in different languages, with the children who spoke those languages telling the story themselves of what time they get to school, what clothing they wore. It was interesting for the children to see, and the parents. So that was something that we've worked on.
We do work very hard here in involving parents within our school events. Obviously, it is more difficult if they have limited English. We do try, where possible, to sort of point them out to a parent in the playground that might speak their language, or introduce them to the staff here that speak their language, and that's worked really well at bringing parents in.
The school's specialist EAL teaching assistants, many of whom offer a range of languages, spend a lot of time working with each child to learn about their individual history.
When they're with me, they're it's like they can breathe, that, it's like easier for them. So, or what have they done in break time, any time in class, what's happening, they're kind of talking to me in the language.
From the moment the child arrives at the school, they're partnered with a so-called buddy, sometimes 1 or 2 buddies, one of whom may share their home language.
Imagine if the whole school was English and only one person was another language, so they would need help. So a person who speaks their language and English can help them try to speak English and show them around the school as well.
If we don't have anybody of that language, then we might look for where the children are from, if they're from similar sort of areas, or just sensible children who are helpful and willing to help a child out. Some children are more willing to help out.
The school's learnt through experience that it's important to balance the time spent immersed in the class in English and the time the child spends one-to-one with their EAL teachers.
They tend to open up more in a small group or one-to-one than they would in the class, and she's probably able to draw more things out of him than if he'd filled that in on his own. Sort of non-academic subjects where there's not a big need for them to be speaking or writing in English, we would leave them to sort of work independently. Where there's lessons where there's lots of visual clues, like with art, with PE, with ICT, it is important for them to hear and be stimulated by people who speak English fluently. So it's really getting a balance of the one-to-one work to teach things, and then them going back into class and using that effectively for them.
But above all, the greatest resource the school has is its children.
You and me. Even though I'm white and you're black, Our blood flows in the same way and in the same direction. When I grow old, my hair will turn grey, as will yours. Although we may be different religions, we worship the same force.
If a child isn't happy in the situation that they're in, there's no way they're going to learn in any way at all. So we want them to be happy and settled and get the feeling that we are here to help them, and then we can start the actual sort of education process after that.
If you're facing the challenge of supporting children with English as an additional language, here are some tips from the staff at Fairlock Primary School. First, it's important to have a thorough induction process with the child and their families to learn the full story of that child's educational experience and linguistic background. Invest in teaching assistants who are multilingual. Don't overload new arrivals with too much English language teaching, because little and often works better. Look to your local community to find resources, people's skills and materials that can help you support children. To find out how you can take part in sharing your great practice, then visit the Teachers TV website and find the Sharing Your Great Practice page.